Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
And good evening to you. Welcome to Living Life God's Way. It's another Thursday, another edition of this program that we so enjoy bringing to you. We hope this evening that you will be encouraged. Get all of those parents, we want you to round them up fast, tell them Living Life God's Way is on. This program, we're going to feature a lot on our parents, right, ladies?
Yep. Yes.
We're going to be talking about you parents. We're going to be talking about you. So please, tag someone and tell them that we are sharing about parents and raising teens and raising our young adults into, to prepare themselves for the future to come. Ladies?
Yes.
Oops.
Good evening. Good evening and welcome. Yes, looking forward to this evening's discussion, following on from last week. So yeah, looking forward to discussing about parental role. As you said, parents' role is paramount in the raising of children. So, looking forward to a hearty discussion.
Oh yes, interesting because it's so important for us to understand what is our role and how we can improve. So I'm actually looking for that. I'm still in that zone. Mm-hmm. So you never know what I'll learn today.
Yep.
Stay tuned.
Yep. So, like we said, tag someone, and we're going to have a good discussion this evening on parental guidance, and we're going to share. All three of us are parents, and we are honored to parent these young people. And we have some ideas that we can share with you, and I'm sure we will be learning from each other. Maybe you can drop something in the chat, and we'll be glad to hear your thoughts and your opinion and maybe your suggestions as well. So stay with us. We'll begin our discussion in a brief moment.
Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
All right, so welcome back to the program as we're discussing the role of parents in raising teenagers or raising a young person in a Christian home. Or, you may be part of a group, or you part of the youth ministry, or anything like that. And you may be just thinking, okay, what can I do to help our young people and so on. We have all cross the bridge of the young. You know, moving across
somewhere there.
somewhere
Yes.
Somewhere there, I don't know about go over.
Yeah.
So
I'm not youth, but I'm young.
we are moving over. Right, so we are, the ladies are, they're not taking it well. They're not taking it across the river well at all. Anyhow, so we're discussing raising children in a Christian home, and we're looking at the parental role in this event or in a responsibility. So, Elder, do you have a definition for parental role?
I
Or
think
parents.
from last week we have the definition for parenting, so
Okay.
we'll drop that one. And it's
Alright.
simple: the activities of bringing up a child.
Okay.
All right,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think we kept it simple, and then we went into it in our discussions in terms of just a little bit on your role. So I guess today we want to examine it a little bit more.
Yep, yep. So you said
Mhm.
the activity.
Activities.
I like that. The activity, because that says my mind thinking. The activity.
Mhm.
So it's an activity. It means that there is involvement, there is
Exactly.
discussion, there is don't do this, there's you shouldn't do that. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Let's
Yeah.
get into that discussion now. Well, what say you first?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I think in our gentleman discussions we had, we talked about a film called Fences
Right,
with Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
And in there, the dad says, the boy says to the dad, I don't think you like me or something like that. And the dad then responds saying, it's not my job to like you. I do this, I do that, and the rest of it. And then I saw something on social media where this woman was talking about the difference between maintenance and parenting. And kind of in line with the Fences film. And I think sometimes parents think that parenting is just the maintenance side.
Right.
The providing food, providing a
Yeah.
roof over their head, sending them to school, providing clothes. Those things are all maintenance
Right.
things that you do to maintain the child, things
Right.
that you should do, as a parent.
Mhm.
But the parenting, as you said, activity, there's more involvement, right? So there's got to be more than just the maintenance aspect. There's got to
Right.
be the disciplining, the role modeling, the discussions, the guiding. And those things, for me, is the real parenting. Because anybody can really maintain
It's true.
something. As long as you have the resources to maintain, you can maintain, right? Everybody can, within reason, put food in your stomach, put a roof over your head, and so on. But it's the other parts, the activities, the disciplining, and so on, which I think is where sometimes we all can lack at different times. Because
Right.
sometimes you're too tired and you just can't be bothered, and you say, "Oh, I just can't be bothered today," and you kind of negate your responsibility. But the concern, obviously, is when you have parents who do it on a regular basis.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I want to unpack, the actual activities that parents should be doing to raise their child, not just the maintenance. And don't want to kind of swerve into the gender part, but when you talk about, say, maybe single parents, the argument is always that the man is not providing, he's not providing maintenance. Even when you go to court, it's called maintenance.
Right.
Right? So it's all about the financial aspect.
Right.
And again, we might talk about this a little bit later, but I like women to not necessarily, even if a man is not maintaining, i.e. paying, there's other things he can do to help to raise his child. Because it's not just an ATM, right? He's more than that. And obviously putting aside any kind of obvious things, if the father's not suitable, he has maybe mental health issues or anything like that, putting that aside, talking about your average, I quote, normal man, we need to look at not just looking at men as the maintainers. There's more that he can add to his child's life rather than just the money.
Are they going to jump in?
Yeah, I will jump in there. When it comes to the role of the parent, I know for us to determine what kind of activities, then we need to start looking at our teens, find out what's going on in their lives. And I think we alluded to it last week, but many times you hear parents talking about stormy teens, but it's really the storm they are going through it, and that It's stressful. They have to be thinking about school being successful, all things being equal. They're thinking about who they are and where they're going in life, what's their contribution to life. They're thinking about adjusting socially, you know. So all of these things are going on in there. So having an understanding of what are their needs. For some of us, we have to go and Google it, and then for some of us, we listen when the children are speaking, when they talk about need for time or to go somewhere, and all of these things you have to bear in mind. So based on the needs, then we go about creating activities. So activities being present, having family time, going out, giving them attention. So all the information there. And I actually enjoy this because by reading up again, it is refreshing my mind, our minds, to understand the role of a parent. But somehow, we do get it, probably I'm the guilty party. But when you're taking care of the children every step of the way as they grow up, and they say, now they're getting older. And so, we don't need to do as much. Yes, we do. Probably the posture might be different. It might not be over them, but we have to be there, being there to give them attention. We should be their biggest fan, cheerleader in events, when they fail, when they are feeling lonely, when they're feeling frustrated. We are supposed to be up there calm. So that means it has a lot of implications. I will leave that there for a while.
And I'm agreeing with you, ladies. And based on what we've shared, just now, I think it's important to understand the various stages of our children's lives. We have this mentality as parents where we think, we don't have any bills to pay, so you shouldn't have any problems. Or you don't have to go to work, or you shouldn't have any problems. But, based on conversation that I would have had with children and so on, I would have, and also my children as well. Children have a lot of stuff going on, and I think we are on fear when we expect them to switch, because at the different stages of their life, you have this infant, and then this infant is not trying to understand the world, how it functions, who likes me, who doesn't like me, why do you like me, why you don't like me, and stuff like that. They have all of these different stages going on, and then they're moving to teenage years, and teenage years is, okay, my body feels weird, what's going on with my body? And then they move on to young adult. Now that I have the freedom to make decisions now, what do I do? What kind of decisions do I make? And who determines whether my decisions are good or bad? And if my parents don't agree, are my decisions good or are they bad? And if they agree, do I count them good? All these things our young people have to deal with. And I think the involvement of parents is very important. The involvement when it comes to conversation, the involvement when it comes to sometimes just listening. There's a time when you have to give some guidance. There's a time where you have to give guidance and listen. And and I find that our children get older, the less time they seem to spend with us, because they are now young adults. Like my oldest son is 25, so he is like, yeah, daddy, what's up? It's almost like, oh, you can call, have a call, have this conversation, and then, all right, daddy, the things they must attend to, and like what? But they have things to attend to, and they have their own lives to live. So I believe our involvement with our children should be conversation, like I said, and just summing up what I shared. Conversation, being there, listening. It's good to pay attention and not say anything sometimes, so that we understand where they're coming from. And as they're coming from this place, then we're able to shed some light on what they're dealing with. The other thing that I think is crucial is we have to understand that we are raising children to become adults. We are not raising them to stay children. We are raising them to become adults. I think sometimes the mistake that we parents make is we raise them as if they're going to be children for the rest of their lives. So they lack social skills. They lack the ability to have conversation with people. They lack these necessary tools for life, which we don't think they would ever need. So we don't teach them how to, if you are in a discussion, share your opinion. And somebody doesn't agree, that's okay.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say how you feel. Speak up. My daughter, I was telling her that because she's soft spoken, so I have to tell her, open your mouth and speak up. Let person hear you, because as you open your mouth and speak, then you're sharing how you feel versus, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter, whatever. I think that that kind of thing is needed. So that guidance in that area is needed, ladies.
Yeah, and don't forget decision making as well.
Yeah.
Because what if you're not there? Can they make decisions, right? So it's like you walk them through it. Okay, you have this option, you have this scenario, pros and cons. Why would you choose that? And you just walk through,
Right.
and even let them come up to some conclusion, and then you can drop in once according to how the environment is going. I mean, it sounds good, but we have to now really be conscious that every moment is golden in that we try to use it naturally to move in that direction, help them learn to make decisions.
I want us to maybe we can zero in on this question here, Doctor, to make sure she asks, should we as parents try to mold children's life choices or support them in their own choices, even if we don't agree with them? This is a really good question. Well, what say you on this, Doc? What are your thoughts on this?
Mold children's life choices.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, you tend to kind of mold them. You do mold them because you're in the way that you raise them, your values, morals, etc. You instill them automatically in the way you raise them.
Right.
So that might be some part of the molding process. When it comes to life choice, I think it depends on the age of the child. I mean, we're talking about teenagers, we're actually just about raising children.
Right.
It depends on the children's age. Obviously, if they're in their teens and they want to make certain choices, which you know is going to have a negative impact on their life later on, you might have to stand your ground. Yeah. But if they're slightly older and they can give, good justification, they've got good evidence, you can have a discussion and they can, slightly older, maybe like 16, 17, going up to 18. Remember, we said that if they're living in your roof, they're your children. But if you say it's like an older teen, then so maybe 16, 17, they finished maybe compulsory school, and they've maybe having a choice between whether to go to university or go to work or whatever.
Right.
Whatever the decision, you would have to look at the maturity of your child. Are they making a real proper decision based on, good sound evidence then, as it were? So I think you have to know your child, and I think it does depend on the age of the children. Obviously, if they're younger, you want to mold them a little bit, maybe steer them because you can see the ramifications. But if they're slightly older, as you said, we've got to kind of loosen the reins a bit to allow them to become functioning adults. And if we make all those decisions for them, when will they become functioning adults?
Right.
And circling back to what you were saying about parents raising their children. And we think they're going to be small all the time or young all the time or for the rest of their lives. I think we do that subconsciously. And I say that because when they get to a certain age, what's the common thing that parents say? You're a big girl now. You're a big boy now. Right? But I need you to be doing X, Y, and Z. But if you haven't put in the groundwork, how can they do X, Y, and Z? Right? But we then have an expectation when a child gets to a certain age that they should be able to do all these things because they're now 17, they're now 18, they've now left school, they're now 6'2" or whatever. But if you didn't put the groundwork in, how is that child going to function? If you didn't give them encouragement to increase their confidence, if they're not confident at 17, you can't expect them to just pluck confidence out of the air, right? If you don't teach them how to speak to people, go and order things in a shop or speak on the phone, how are they then going to speak at an interview or phone up for jobs or whatever? You've got to give them the skills from young. You can't. And I see so many parents just miraculously think at 16, 17, all of a sudden there's like a download on this child and they automatically know how to function as an older teen.
Right.
Wow.
Everything we learn as a human is learnt behavior.
Right.
Yeah, majority is learnt behavior, things that you've either read, seen, or experienced yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that's what we have to be mindful of. Yes, you will mold them to a certain extent, depending on their age. And I think even as an older adult or an older child, you still kind of guide them. You wouldn't say mold them, but you would be guiding them to make the right decision.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the molding happens when they're younger,
Yeah.
so that they can make the right decisions when they're older. So you're not having to mold at 17.
Right.
If you mold at 6, 7, 10,
Mhm.
then they should be able to make their own decisions later on. I think it's a TD Jakes that said it's not what you give your children, it's what you put into your children.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the molding has to happen at a younger age.
Yeah.
It's too late when they're older. And they say by the time a child is 7, you know the
Right.
child,
Yeah.
you know how this child's kind of going to be, their default personality
Right.
is by
It's true.
7, because their largest amount of learning is in those formative years.
Mhm.
So that is why it's crucial to kind of get what you need to, manners, social skills, those kind of things. Obviously, age appropriate by the time they're 7.
I think, as you say, when they're teens, that's not really the time when you mold them so much. That's where, at that time, we are supposed to appreciate the importance of their need for role models, mentors, and things of that nature. So you know, as a parent, you're not so much molding or shaping; you are living the life.
More guys.
So they have to see you making good decisions. They have to see you how you work out things. They're observing. And I was telling my children not too long ago, I was outside attending to the plants. And while doing that, it was coming along, late in the evening, 5 o'clock, then it hit me. This is what my mom used to do. Every evening when I come from work or school, she was outside with the plants. Now, she didn't call me one side and say, Sherilyn, when you grow up, have a garden and be outside at 5.
Right.
You understand? These are things I learned from observing. When I went to my place, I said, no, I must have plants around me so I can go outside and relax.
Right.
So I'm saying now, at this stage, we have to now be the role models, help the child see the right things to do. And while you were talking there about training them, I saw, like when I was learning to ride a bicycle, daddy will hold the seat for you so that you can balance it. We didn't use trainers wheels at that time. He just held the seat so you can balance. So when he sensed that I was holding it well, he let it go.
Right.
And so it's a similar thing even as parenting. We have to be there supporting them, giving them the little info here and there. But when we see like they're starting to move off, you ease off a little bit and watch, Yeah, so it's like you always have to be observing.
Yeah. And that's I agree with that, and that's part of it as well. I want to ask you ladies a question, and I'll obviously respond on it as well. I've heard parents say, I am your friend. They tell the children, I am your friend and I'm your parent. Is it okay to be a friend and parent, or will there be conflict if you try to be friend and parent? Or we need to draw a line when we talk about friendship and being parents. Is that a dangerous line to tread as a parent, or do you ladies see it as, it's okay, it's cool, I can be your friend? But what are your thoughts on that?
I'm a friendly parent.
And she said, I'm very serious. I'm friendly.
I'm friendly.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not my role, to be your friend in the
Right.
true in the
In the
true
context
state
of-
of
right,
a friend.
right. Uh-huh.
But I'm your friendly parent, so my
Right.
response is going to be very different from what your friends may
Right.
give you.
Right.
Because I'm your parent, my role is very different.
Mhm.
So, me personally, I don't think that parents should be friends, but you can be friendly, i.e., then you're open. Your children will come to you. They feel that they can communicate with you. They can trust you. That you'll have their back. You'll be supported. Even if you're going to get angry or whatever, they know that the support is there because
Right.
you're the parent and that's your role.
Right.
But you're the friendly parent, meaning I can talk to mama, I can talk to dad. I know he's going to be very. I know she's going to be upset, but I know once she calms down or he calms down,
Right.
I will know. They'll know what to do. But I think if you're a friend, yeah, I think there's some lines that will cross and it'll get blurred. That's not your role.
What's in your journey?
Well, for me, I remember a few conversations when the children were young, but I agree in the sense that at this stage, I'm mommy here.
Right.
Certain things we need to organize, certain things we need to get done. So I will give you my feelings. You can ask questions at certain times, and then you call the point. So you set structure, you set whatever rule, whatever thing that is needed. So the word friend really doesn't come up, especially in those molding stage. Right? Just like the potter and the clay. The potter is the potter, so you have to shape and work it out. You have to let them know about God, let them know about standards, right and wrong. You just establish that. But what I found is as they get older, like my daughter, she's 18 now. She's not, even though yes, you're the mom, I think at a certain point you just need a slightly different input. And here's where I'll borrow your word friendly. So you try to make sure and you create that environment. Yes, we will go and hang out, we will go and do stuff, we will go and talk about life or whatever it is, whatever you choose to tell me, because they're going through their stages now.
Right.
So, but you try to, my whole thing was to create the environment where they will feel comfortable to talk. So they need to know that you care, you have their back, you're interested in what it is they're doing. And even lately, I recognize you have to be more mindful, what it is they're doing. But to just say, oh, you are my friend, as in friend, it's like certain things you can't really, or things that you're going through and working out. And this is where I have the problem, where I see parents, everything that happened, they're going through and they're telling the child. Not that they need to hide the thing, but I went and I did so and so, and going through all the details in the bank. I had this problem at the bank. My boss is so and so. And time you hear the child almost like an adult. You understand? So let the child be the child. I always tell my child, don't worry about it. You have an idea where we are, but you know what? You concentrate on being the child that is growing. I will do the parenting aspect.
It's called adultification. It's actually a
Ooh,
word
nice
that's what they call it.
Yeah.
When children are adultified,
yes,
a lot
I don't like
earlier.
Yeah.
So even the way parents dress their children, the way they allow them to speak, events that they allow them to attend, and so on and so forth, is actually an adultification. That's what it's called.
But even some of
And then people
these,
perceive them to be older and then treat them older.
yes,
And that becomes a problem.
I
especially
realize
in
that
the
because even with some of these teens who are adultified, when they're out with their parents and the parents might be with other adults, they're talking and they're mannering. Yes, but I can do that as a child. When daddy or mommy talking or they had guests, we knew to go in the back room.
Keep them off, keep
quiet.
Unless they called you. Unless they called you. But
Or if you're smart like me, you keep quiet, you can hear what's going on.
And you ladies are right. And I think, and I want to borrow your descriptive words there, friendly parent. And I subscribe to that totally. I'm concerned when we parents become our children's friend, or our children become our friend, because there are certain things that you don't correct a friend in a type of manner that you would correct a child. There is a difference, and I think we have to. If you want me to be your friend, you have to understand that if I'm your friend, I may have to lash you, or I may have to correct you, or I may have to wrong you, or I may have to take where. If you're cool with that, then call me your friend. But if you have an issue with that, then they can't be your friend. And I'm sure you will have an issue with that, so then they can't be your friend. But yes, and I think that sometimes it makes when we adopt this position as parents versus friend parent. Some people make it seem as if we are doing our children an injustice because it doesn't lend for the direct access to us as a parent, because we're thinking if I am your friend, there's an easy access to me. You can come and tell me anything. But if I'm your parent, you might be limited in what you share because you may be embarrassed or whatever. But I think that if we allow our children to understand, you came from me.
Yeah.
There's no need to be afraid of anything. We come and let's have a discussion. I think that needs to be made clear so that our children understand, you know what, it's just a God, and I compare it with our relationship with the Lord. Our God is our Father. He calls us friend. But we know for sure that there are lines of demarcation when it comes to respect to God being our friend.
Yeah.
And if you can manage that as a parent friend, then, but for me personally, nah, no way. I prefer to let my children understand that here's my father, and because there will be times, and with my children, even though I have two that are adults, there are times when I tell them stuff that I know that they're like, shh, he couldn't just hush, why he said it or whatever, but I have to. That's my job, to keep guiding them even as they become older.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't want them to make the same mistakes that we have made or make any decisions that will cause them harm. So we speak up. So I think that this friendship thing with our children is bordering on being dangerous, and it lends more to more issues than it is to helping them.
Yeah.
And I think that, we can reach our children, we can guide our children, and we don't have to be friend. We can be friendly. And I totally subscribe to that analogy of being a friend. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to continue this discussion. Parents, I hope that you are learning something, and let's hear your thoughts on if you think that you can be your child's friend, or you think, no way, I am no way haven't doing that. What are your thoughts? We want to hear them so that we can read them out loud and laugh at your comments. So please share your thoughts with us. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Right, so welcome back to Living Life God's Way. We're having an offset discussion right here as we're sharing with raising children in a Christian home, and this evening we are focusing on parents. P-R-E-N-T-S, lady. Parents. We're focusing on us being parents and you being a parent, and we're sharing our thoughts, what are good ideas and bad ideas, or what are necessary things or things that we shouldn't do as parents. And one of them that we just said, we need to be very, very, very careful in calling ourselves our children's friend, and so on. Now, I see this happen. It may not happen in a Christian home or whatever, but I see young ladies and their moms going partying. I see young men and their dads drinking. What are your thoughts on that, lady? Because this is, like I said, it may not happen in a Christian home, but it's something that happens. It happens. It's a reality. What are your thoughts on that? Would you? I mean, we can go out with our children, and you go out socially and stuff like that. But would you do something like going partying or going drinking with your children?
No. No. But I do remember before I was saved and I was on the scene and partying and stuff. I mean, there's only like a 21 year age gap between me and my parents.
Right.
and I've always liked kind of older music
Right,
and
right.
the older scene. And I do remember one time I was out with my friends, and my friend said, "That's your dad. That's your dad over there." And I just wanted the world and his wife and everybody in it just to take me out, because I was like, oh my gosh. Now I was what, 18 or so. So I wasn't young,
Right.
but I just did not feel comfortable. I remember we didn't leave the house to go out together. We just happened to end up in the same party. But for me, I felt so uncomfortable, and so I actually left. I actually went home because I thought clearly one of us is in the wrong place, and I think it might be me, being the
Right,
younger
yeah,
one.
right.
It's got to be me who's in the wrong place. So I felt really uncomfortable. But I know there's young people out there now that wouldn't feel any way. They'd be like, how you doing? Or even leave home together
Right.
and go to a venue and what have you. So personally, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to be in the same place as my son. No, I don't. I think there needs to be a demarcation between social activities of adult parent and child.
What about you, Dr. Sheridan?
It just sounds wrong. And I'm visually looking at this thing. You know why it happens? That's going back to our last discussion, our last point. When a parent is comfortable with a child being a friend, you'll want to do something like that.
Of course.
So I think two lessons need to be learned here. One, teach the child to become more sociable, and the parent also need to become more sociable. And honestly, especially if you're a single parent, you're working hard and you may be working 2 or 3 jobs. So you don't always have a lot of time to be social. And as a result, your friends list might be very small, or because many times you're not around, whoever your friends might have other friends, so they're gone. So you have to rely now on the child to have a social, but you're not allowing the child to go.
Right.
You're not giving the child space to go. Now, for me, I remember once my daughter had to go somewhere. Something happened, and by extension, she said, "Mommy, come along with me." Well, I felt a how, but she said, "Mommy, come." So I said, "All right, cool." But while I was there, the parental role kick in. Okay, this is what you do. Okay, you have to be careful, watch how you move. I use that opportunity to tell her so that when she's on her own now, make sure everything covered or whatever have you. But
So it's research.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing it. Yeah.
I'm not doing that. And you're right there, Doc, because you can think if it was in that similar situation of crossing Solomon, I'm over here.
No.
I'm over here, and that was a good judgment call.
Yeah.
I think that when we practice these kind of things as parents, we are good evening to you, Dr. Ian. Thank you for passing through. When we practice these kind of things as parents, we're losing the respect of our children
that is it.
when we do such things, because then they'll see us as just one of them. My mother,
Yeah.
and I know some of us parents like to hear, "Oh, mommy's cool and daddy's cool." Oh, I have a cool parent, man. They don't dig anything. They're just so cool. They're cooler than your dad, and cooler than
There's a spectrum of cool though.
Yeah.
Some parents are too cool. The parents are like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
mom,
That's
that's
not
embarrassing."
functioning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you gotta have that. You gotta have that balance.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And so I want to subscribe to it. By the grace of God, I will find myself. If I want to be social with my children, let's go up together. Let's decide we're gonna go somewhere and relax and
Have some nice
And
food, some
something
nice-
whatever do,
Drive or whatever,
yeah. But in terms of going such social places with them, I don't think that's the best thing for us parents to be doing. It looks cool, and we may want to say, "Oh, I brought my children," but in reality, when you sit down and think about it, it is not the best thing to do, because then you are exposing yourself to disrespect, which will happen because I am not one of you. You're there with their friends, and you're the oldest one, and you're getting on, and you're carrying on
dress
with
up
them,
like
and The devil is a liar, man. You know, it's just something wrong with that. So I think that as parents, we need to be mindful of those things. It may look cool to your daughter. You may say your daughter or your son don't have an issue with it, but what about you as the adult in there or the senior person in there? The truth is, even, and I'm thinking even with my son being 25, I can't see myself going somewhere with like that with him, you know, with his friends, and like, I would feel so weird, like, and I'm sure I know my son, I'm like, what are you doing here? Really, Daddy? What are you doing here, man? And, right, so, you know, rightly so, like, it's like, find your own friends, man. And I think sometimes as parents, we use our children to fill these gaps that they should not be filling. Like, why? Like, stop it. Like, go find people your own age to hang out with. Go find people your own age to socialize with, and let your children hang out with their own friends. You know, so that they understand themselves and learn to socialize and stuff like that. Hanging out, like. Yes, it's like there's something wrong, you know, there's something wrong with it, and some people feel great about it, but I think that one of the important things for us as parents is to guide our children, and respect is paramount. And how can you respect something if it is just like you, you know, on the same level as you as well? I think that's highly important, because then what happens is when our children associate with other adults, they don't know how to respect other adults. So they think that other adults were their friends. You know, it's only now in this era that we're living in that children can call other adults by their first name.
Oh yeah.
You had to. It was either some kind of formal greeting and stuff like that. But now it's okay. So we've gotten so cool that these little people can call these adults that are 70 years old by their first name.
Oh no!
You know, that's crazy. You know,
no. I think we need to quantify that. They can in certain households.
Right.
In certain households. Yeah. My son's not calling anybody by their first name.
Right.
They have to be uncle, auntie in front of it,
right,
or designation like pastor or something
right,
like that. There has to be something in between. And I know that some parents don't agree with that. Oh, that's not their auntie, that's not their uncle,
right.
You know, but it's not about them being biologically related. It's about having that respect for your elders. But I hear a lot of young people saying, well, why should I respect them just because they're older than me? It's just age. You hear that all the time. And the challenge you have with that is because some adults do not behave like adults.
Right.
And so they don't have respect of adults. And then it's really hard then for a child to respect an adult who's not behaving in an adult fashion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right for children to be disrespectful in that way, but it's hard to negotiate with a child to say you need to respect this person. Why? Look how they behave. So you've got an articulate child.
Yeah.
But look how they're behaving, mommy. Look at this. Look at that. Look how they talk. Look how they behave. Yeah. It's really, you want me to respect somebody who doesn't. So then what's your comeback as a parent? Because you know the right thing to do is still show that level of respect. So, you know, the argument, well, my response would be, well, you don't lower your standards for people. Your standard is that you have that respect for adults of, you know, of a certain age or whatever. And so you maintain that.
Right.
And then, you know, when you're old enough, then you can do as you please. But right now, this is how it needs to be.
I remember a few months ago, I was on the road. I'm not to reveal where I was, just in case you don't know you're online.
Let's hear it.
But whatever. But I was, you know, outside, man, taking care of some matters, and a child walked up to me. Hi, Sharadine. It turned. It's like, I said, come. I said, listen, when you're talking to people older than you, you either say mom or sir or something, but don't call my first name. Oh, but that's what your custom hearing, right? And you hear an adult, you hear an adult addressing one another like that. it was a neighbor. So, good morning, Shirley.
Yeah,
So
right.
that is what
right,
he's hearing.
Yeah.
So the son came and hit me, jumped me.
Mhm.
But again, it's all about what we teach our children. And I can't underline or highlight enough how much time we have to invest in guiding our children. We talked about it,
Yeah.
but this guiding thing will get out of hand when you try to befriend the children.
Right.
That line will get blurred. Teens at this particular time, they need to know the difference between wrong and right, between what's acceptable and unacceptable. And if we keep blurring those lines of expectations, they won't have a proper reference point. And we as parents have to realize that they have enormous information out there that is telling them the contrary to our values and what we believe. So therefore, we have to maintain the posture where we are giving them information and direction so that when they come to us, they know we are talking from a higher level, not trying to talk like them or sound like them, to be like them, because we want them on our side. And if children know that we are going to melt and become like them, then they will not trust our answers, because they say, oh, Mom, I'm doing that because you're trying to keep friends.
Right.
Or to keep things connected. No, they need to know when I go to mom or when I go to dad, I'm getting hard to, even if they are vexed, even if it caused them to be vexed with me for a couple of days, that's all right. In my mind, I know I am doing my role as a parent. And I remember not too long ago listening to, I think it's R. Kelly talking about raising his young adult or teen. And he said, I had to talk to this child and I had to tell him exactly what was needed to be said. Of course, in a proper way, but he had to give out the information. Then he said, the child is not talking to me, but as they get older, they'll recognize the importance of the information. So sometimes we have to play that role where we give them straight up facts.
I was always raised, not your friend. We used to say that all the time. I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend.
So let's
And
be
you're
clear.
not that. So let's be clear when I'm talking to you and stuff. Because I've even heard children call their parents by their first name. If you're going to call your mother and your father by their first name, why would you then call somebody else, another elder, auntie, uncle, Mr., Mrs.,
Wow.
whatever? Because the level of respect is not there. They don't understand the respect, so
Exactly.
they're not going to respect anybody else.
Mhm.
You know, and we talked about before in other sessions about, you know, when you're, I think it was relationships. And we were saying that, you know, you look at a man how he's with his mother, and you look at a woman when she's with her father. So if these people are calling their parents by their first name, for me, there's a lack of respect there. So then how are they going to respect anybody else?
Right.
You know?
Why do we do that? Why do we allow children to get along like adults? Why do we allow them to call some people by their first name? I heard it and it
Because the
sounded so wrong.
the age gap between children and parents is much smaller.
Yeah, it was so
It's much smaller.
wrong.
So what happens is that
Mm.
they don't feel that they need to, because it's all about being older. It's the elders. So if you don't see yourself as old or see yourself as an elder, you won't necessarily uphold those values, because I'm not old. I'm young. I'm 22, and my child's 10 or whatever.
Right.
So the age gap is smaller.
Yeah.
So they don't see themselves as older. So if your child is, I don't know, 15, and then your mother's 35 or younger, and then the grandmother is 55, and everybody's still working and young, and you know, they don't see the age gap as kind of an issue,
Wow. And I
because
think-
it, you know,
Yeah, so true. Go ahead.
I remember the same child in another scenario as I went to the particular school, and the mom was there. They were in front of me in a line, and they were going to collect books. So the child went up to collect the books. We just talking about facts, information. I wasn't, as I said, gypsy, and it happened in front of me, right? And the child said, "Well, you see me, I get the books already. You ain't going to come and help me." Not me. So, and she was going on and on. The mother was a little bit way off. So it was supposed to address him, Mom. You realize she's older than you are. No, listen, Mom, if there's anything, could you come and help me, please? That's all you do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we do it also.
Yeah.
Respect is
Yeah.
important. Respect is important. So
See, sorry to
Go
cross,
ahead, no.
but this is very true because then the child comes and fits into society, fits into school,
Yeah.
and carry on the same behavior.
Yeah.
And then the behavior is disruptive in the classroom or disruptive in church. And we see it all the time. You can tell when children are disciplined at home,
Yeah.
or you can tell when they just get to do whatever, however, wherever.
Yeah.
They lie down where they feel like, sit down where they feel like, and there's not any sense of order. And this happens, and when it happens, then our society starts to nosedive because
Really?
principles and morals have become almost zero. So then society nosedive, and then we want to know why crime is so high,
Yeah.
why this is so high, why this is so high. And one of the major thing is the lack of respect for elders. And I mean, I haven't taken the bus in a long time, praise Jesus, but I remember taking the bus and seeing young people sitting and older people standing. And I mean, not
Gosh, yeah.
just older, like 10 years older than them or anything. I'm talking about
elders.
elders,
Yeah.
you know, and it was crazy. Like that's so out of order. Or if you are in a line and you see this person just really standing up, you know, like, and they go to sit down because their foot are hurting. Like, I was standing here every since, and I've seen this in banks, I've seen this in lines to pay bills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the more we move away from morals, or the more we move away from discipline, the more it affects our society, and by extension, you know, we say, you know, children have rights, and there's human rights and all the different rights, and nobody's saying that people don't have rights. But make sure when you're having rights that your rights is not contrary to discipline, or contrary to order, or contrary to good behavior, or contrary to be well mannered. We adults are responsible for teaching our children to be well mannered, to say thank you, excuse me. Those are basic things that are necessary. And so when the child comes out and they take something from another adult and don't say thank you, then the parents, why you don't say thank you? Like, why would they say thank you? We never teach them to do it at home.
And probably you don't
You
even
know,
do it.
or you don't do it with them. So you go into a classroom and you're disrupted because you can't say thank you or excuse me, man. You just begin talking over everybody. And this is, I realize that this is demoralizing our societies, and we are paying for it daily, all the time. In one way or the other, we are paying for it, and I think it is very sad, and I'm really concerned about it. And then when they're in discipline, then you hear the children cursing, like you're hearing 5-year-old cursing and 7-year-old cursing, and you walk past and you're thinking, oh, I didn't just see an adult behind me. Like, who's that person that's cursing? That can't be a child. And you look back and see these children, like all of these things they are causing our society to nosedive. And we are trying to figure out, like, what is the problem, or what's going on in our society. Is the basic principles that are missing from our children. And whose responsibility is it? Is us.
Yeah.
It's us as parents to teach them at home, to teach the children behavior at home. You know, you don't have to tell them when you're going out, you're supposed to do this. Do it at home. You know, when you're speaking to somebody, you say, "Excuse me." You know, you don't just and talk over the person. You say, "Excuse me," or in some cases, "Can I say something?" You know, stuff like that. We need to teach our children that when you see an adult on the road, whether the adult speaks to you or not, you say good morning or you say good evening. And in some cultures it's different and stuff like that, right? But we really have to do better because it's really affected us. And if we don't do it now, what's going to happen 20 years from now?
Wow.
You know, what's going to happen 20 years from now? Like, what will our young people be? Who? Because they will be adults then. In 20 years, they will be adults. They will be in their 20s and 30s. They will be full adults. So what happens then? You know, when the foundation was never laid, and if the foundation is never laid, oh Lord, whole building collapse.
You see the thing you mentioned there, which is very critical, and that is the foundation. And that is where we have a lot of difficulty in all times, and even a little before. When we move away from the foundation being God, the word and truth, everything else shifts, And from listening to, as you speak about what's happening in our society where children are cursing out and they don't have values, it highlights the importance of our role as parents, those who know the Lord Jesus Christ. Because people say, oh, they don't have manners anymore. This society, they don't care. They don't so and so. So right away, that is telling me that we who know the Lord, we have to make sure and spend time and invest in these areas where we encourage them to be mannerly, to be courteous, to demonstrate these right attitude and responses. Because when they go out in society, some of them, like, thanks, please, where's that? It will be fun.
Yeah.
You
it is fun.
Yeah.
It
It's
really
fun.
is, yeah.
So you want to, cultivate, and that's another important role. We are the ones who have to cultivate these best behaviors.
Yeah.
Demonstrate, not only talk it, but do it. For me, I remember myself, even with my parents. I appreciated much. What I appreciated about them is like what they said. They do it as well. So it's like when they're saying have faith in God, it was like, oh, it's saying so, but when they say have faith in God, Daddy will be doing affirmations, Mom and Daddy are always praying together. They believe in God for this miracle. So I saw it. You understand? So we now as parents, and it's something we always have to pray about. I don't know who's the perfect parent here. I'm still being refined. I'm still learning. I'm still, you might ask the children, so how mommy going? And then when you get a response, it's like, oh, I got to work in this area. I got to work on, we always have to fine tune. So we need to really pay attention to our young persons. And I'll tell you why before I close on this point. Because after 18 and 19, pretty much they're gone. They're on in their own world, whatever the shape, form, and understand, that's where they're going. They're going with their own grips, their own picnic bags, everything.
Yeah.
So it's like while they're under our roof, we want to be able to try to make that positive impact, give them a lot of information, train up a child in the way, so that even when they move on their own, you'll hear your parents' voice, you'll hear certain teaching or certain information that they would have given so that they're able to make the best decisions,
What you're saying, Shirley, I'm thinking being polite and manly could determine whether you get a job or not.
Believe you
me. Being courteous can determine whether I'm going to hire you to work in my business or not. And your attitude,
that is it.
Because when you come in, you can tell by person's body language they are manly or not. You can tell simple things. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not able to drag this chair, but you can tell manners from how somebody moves a chair. Because if you drag out this chair, I'm sitting in, I can tell that you are very unmannerly. You can conclude that. You are very disrespectful. I can conclude that by you dragging out this chair. But if you have manners, you would know. You know what? There are people in this room talking. There's conversation going on. If I drag this chair, it's going to be disruptive to everyone who is sitting around me. So common sense will tell me, or manners will tell me, don't drag the chair. Or if we see it in closing windows, your persons are in the room, and particularly the school windows. Like, really? Why are you doing that? That is so wrong. Apart from it being annoying, it is you're saying you don't have any respect for property. So all of those things we are able to tell by actions, and like you're saying, they are taught by us parents, because our the first contact that our children have is us.
It's true.
So if they are manly, you have something to do with it as a parent.
Yeah.
And whether or not we want to agree or whether or not we feel that is the case, there are our first contact of these things. So we have to instill them in there. And we see it, we said this earlier, where you see the different behavioral practices and you see little things that need tweaking. As parents, we should be tweaking these things and say, no, don't close the door like that. Why are you slamming the door?
Right.
Or a child gets annoyed, the next thing you hear, pow! The door shuts in.
Really?
Y'all don't know those things?
I
mean,
can
you're right, because I can do that and make people because it would have felt something in the back of my head.
Listen,
You're right,
I would
you're
take
right,
off the
you
door.
know?
Yeah.
The reality is serious, and because it happens at home, by and large, society feels it as well. So it goes up to society. So I slam my parents' bedroom door.
So I can
I'll slam the school door. I'll slam the church door.
Yeah.
I'll slam the
Everything's
car
slammed.
door. Whatever other door I will slam. You know. So I don't say thank you to my parents. So when I go to school,
I don't have to
and
say
no,
thank you.
I don't have to say thank you. I go to church. Somebody give me something. I don't have to say thank you. I go and to the back to do something, and somebody gives me something. I don't have to say thank you.
I wanted to say that, not to cut you, but I don't. In
Go
kind of
ahead,
defense, in defense of some of the children, it's not a conscious. I don't have to say thank you.
Right.
I don't have to close the door quietly.
Right.
They just do not know. Because
Yeah,
that
but that's
is how
all they
they're.
know.
Because that's
Right.
all they know. That's
Right.
how they're socialized.
Right.
Wow.
So just to
Mm.
Yeah,
because we look at the children, and say, why have you got no manners? But they're not being taught it.
Yeah, right.
If they are actively and consciously doing it on purpose, then that's a different issue.
Right.
But a lot of these children don't even know the difference. That
Yeah.
is not how they've been raised.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not how they've
Yeah.
been raised.
That's a crisis we have when children, children seem to be having children.
Well,
Yeah.
So, it really hurts when you see a person like they could be in school still, but they're carrying a child.
Yeah.
You understand? And even from looking at them and at that stage, the way they talk and move, it's like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
are
I
they
think
going
it's
to
more,
teach?
for me, it's more about maturity than age. I mean, obviously, 15, 16 are at school, again, obvious things aside.
Yeah.
But there's a level of maturity. I mean, my parents had me when they were 19 and 20.
Mhm.
And when I speak to people who are older than me, who had older parents,
Yeah.
it's the same
Of
upbringing.
Yeah.
course. Of
So
course.
it's not necessarily about the age, it's the maturity of
Yeah.
the parents,
Yeah,
which is concerning.
Yeah.
But bear in mind too, I have, from what I've heard, parents who were younger then,
We're more
they
responsible.
were more responsible.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
values.
Yeah.
They pass on things,
Yeah.
peace times and so forth.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the younger puppies. It seems like I'm emphasizing it, but these young people in these times, they're still in need of skills.
But there's some mature
There's some-
women
there's
and
some-
men who are
yeah.
also, sorry, not mature in age,
Mm.
who are still very immature
Yeah.
and having children, and so
Yeah.
they might as well be young in age as well.
Got you.
And
You see what I mean?
listen,
And that's the challenge.
Wow.
and you're right. And it's some of the things that I've seen, like if you look, God forbid,
Mm.
but if you are a parent that cusses,
Mm.
right? You shouldn't be cursing in front of your children because your children pick up your habits.
It's
And
true.
this is something real that works. When you get with your friends and you want to let go of whatever words, you do that with your
If
friends.
they've been raised like that, it's a cycle.
Because
That's
it keeps,
it.
because it
It
keeps,
keeps
And
going.
it
keeps
gets
going on.
better.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
get
it
better.
keeps-
The same way that we've got certain morals and values that were instilled in us and we're passing on to our children. Unfortunately, for some people, all they will have was what we would seem as negative. They're going to pass it on to their children.
Yeah, and
But for
it's,
some of them, just don't
it's-
know any better. And it sounds really kind of superficial and just kind of simplistic. Sorry, not superficial, simplistic.
Mhm.
But that is the reality.
Yeah,
Some
it's
people
true, so
just haven't been taught.
so true.
Their circles and everything is exactly the same as them because we move with people that are similar to us
Right.
in age, in socioeconomic status, and so on and so forth. So everything around you permeates the same thing. So your friends probably cursing, your friends were raised the same way, and
Yeah.
so your whole life, everything, but perception, your reality is your perception, or perception is your reality. What you perceive, that's what you see. That's your reality.
Yeah.
So if everything around you is the same as what you're doing, cursing, no discipline, but, and you was raised like that, and then your circle is like that.
Mm.
How do you know?
But
You don't know until you're exposed to something different,
Yeah.
whether you watch a show like this
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
you're exposed to something and you think, oh, that's different. Oh,
Right.
okay. And that's about education.
Right.
Yeah. About acquiring knowledge outside of your normal realm.
Right.
So that's the challenge, is that we are continuing the cycle. The same way
Yeah.
we are continuing our cycle,
yeah,
theirs continuing theirs.
Yeah.
Our friendship circles are the same as what our same ideas and values. It's the same for them.
Yeah.
So we look and say, oh, they should know better. But again, who's telling them?
who's telling
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
But you got
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
But you have an important point there, and also it exposes another critical role of the parent. We are supposed to set the environment now for the children to grow, to understand truth, to understand values, to understand respect, and so forth.
If you understand your role as a parent,
But that's what I'm saying. When you look at, that's why as parents you're supposed to know what their needs are.
how do we know?
But education.
From
That's what
when?
I'm saying.
Mm.
But you
But this is the
It's true.
challenge. This is
Yeah.
the challenge that we're having, because
calling.
we think from our own perspective.
Right.
That's our reality.
Understood.
But you have to understand that
Right.
some people
I
just
think
don't
though,
have.
yeah, I think though
So what-
that social groups
Mhm.
and the nations around the world, we have to find a way to reach out to
Correct.
the persons so that we can teach,
Yeah,
because it is
that's a good
not
point.
okay
Mhm.
when you hear a mother saying, "I can't get my 5-year-old control," like you hear, "I can't get my child control. It's so bad behavior. I've tried everything," and I have experienced this
I've
in
seen that.
parents, right?
I've
So
seen
so there are social groups that, and anyone who's watching this program, you know anybody like that, there are groups available, and maybe we can drop something in the live stream later on, where persons can get parental help and maybe you guys can start something, because it is important for this to happen now, because
Critical.
in the next decades, next 2 decades or so, these people now are going to be seasoned adults,
Yeah.
and what will we be coming to? Somebody will say, "Oh, this is the last days, perilous times will come," and we expect, but that's not good enough.
It's not.
Our responsibility is still to do whatever we can to help, providing we are given the opportunity, because there are some parents who there's some parents that would have reached out to help, give some guidance, and they were never consistent, So you see them trying and then back at square one.
Yeah.
So you see this go back to their custom. So you see and you're right, you see the cycle going on. And ladies and gentlemen, we know that we've taken up a lot of your time. We are like 15 minutes over our program this evening. But there's so much that we have on our hearts to share with you, because, like I said, we have children as well. We have teenage children, and our desire is to see them prosper. So by extension, we want to see your children prosper as well. And we believe that social skills, like Dr. Ian is saying, we believe in life skills,
Yeah.
we believe in discussion, we believe in equipping and so on, to help persons to be better and to be the best of themselves. They don't have to be like anybody else. They don't have to dress like anybody else, but there are certain fundamentals that cannot be missed. And manners is one of them. And that's what we were trying to get across this evening, where it is necessary. Manners cannot be compromised. Being polite cannot be compromised. Those are things that are necessary. And that's what we were trying to get over to you parents this evening. So we really hope that you've enjoyed our conversation, our discussion this evening, with Sheridan and Dr. Colling and myself. We really hope you have. We hope that you feel empowered as a parent to carry on and see that the mantle is on your shoulders to raise good men and women in the earth. It is your responsibility. Sometimes as parents, ladies, we have to put the fear of God in our children, so that, because we know in time to come, this is what will keep their life.
Yeah.
This is what will keep them in order. The discipline, they being focused, they being educated and all of that. This is important. So we have to drive it home sometimes. Sometimes you may be tired as a parent. And you may figure, I can't do this any longer. But if you don't do it, who are you leaving your children to be taught by? Who are you leaving your children to be educated by? A strange man or a strange woman? Look out, that's trouble according to Solomon in the book of Proverbs chapter 5. Your strange woman or strange man will raise your child. And when that happens, you can guarantee you'll look for calamity. Now, sharing your closing thoughts, and then Dr. Colleen, and then we are out of here.
Well, I'll give the parents one scripture verse, and it's Galatians chapter 6:9. And it says, let us not be weary in doing good, for in the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And I think that goes along with what you were saying just now. We cannot afford to slacken and take our roles for granted. But what we're doing is molding the next generation of leaders. So we want to make sure that they are functioning, that they transition from childhood to adult teens into adulthood with competence, with confidence, and with a consciousness of God. So let us continue to do what we must. If you don't know, ask a question. When in doubt, talk to other parents, whatever have you, but do what we need to do to fine-tune our role to help our teens in this years of transition.
I would like to pose a challenge to our viewers. Those who are parents, whether biological or otherwise, when you're parenting a child, ask your child for a report on you as a parent. And I'm sure that will be an eye-opener. And accept it. Accept what they come with. Don't get angry. Don't, because it provides a lot of things for you. It provides an opportunity for you to have a discussion with your child. It provides an opportunity for your child to feel that they're contributing to their life and to the relationship that they're having with you. Yeah. It gives your child analytical skills, because they have to think about, how you are as a person. They've got to justify and kind of evidence why they've given those scores on this report card. So it's not just about getting feedback, but it's also about all those other things that can instill in your child. So ask your child to give you a report. You can maybe set the criteria, what you want feedback on. But it's a real eye opener, and it can be quite tough when your child comes back with a little low grade.
Of course.
But that's good, because then that gives you the opportunity to build and to become a better parent.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us here at the Elements of Judah Tribe and all of us here at Living Life God's Way, it has been a pleasure bringing you this program. We hope you have been blessed. We hope you have been encouraged. We hope that you've gotten some insight, and we're looking forward to seeing you again next week, Thursday, right here on these mediums. See you then. Have a great evening.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.